Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. I took a quick little one book break from a lot of the fantasy and stuff that I read, and I have kind of like two piles going. I have like the fantasy genre, sci-fi, all of that stuff in one pile, and then I have more historic fiction or just historic books in a different pile. And so with this book, I kind of went that route. I kind of went back to the history thing, but I stayed in the same period. I kind of go through these like time period loop things. So this one, I stayed in the Gilded Age, and I read about the Vanderbilts, and the book is literally just called The Vanderbilts. This is a biography of the family of Vanderbilt, but it was written at the end of the 80s, and so it doesn't have like a ton of modern stuff about the Vanderbilts. But it is just a straight biography, lots of history and information about this very prominent family. I know I have a couple followers from overseas, but the Vanderbilts are kind of like a really big name here in the States, and they were what was considered some of the new guard, and I am a huge fan of the TV show Gilded Age, and some people were saying, oh, it's the same story as the Vanderbilts, and I was like, what? There's no way. And so I've been curious to kind of find some information about them, get a little reading done about them. And as I read the book, I was like, oh yeah, this show literally just is the Vanderbilts, without saying that it's the Vanderbilts. But basically, the whole premise of their lives was that they started out, they were an old family, and back in the Gilded Age period, and before that, if you lived in Manhattan, you had kind of two ranks. You had the old guard, and you had the people that kind of popped in because they suddenly made money, and a lot of them would disappear over time, over a generation or two, and so they didn't really care about them. But the old guard, very old families, have been in the States since the colonies, and so the Vanderbilts actually had been in the States since the colonies, the family at least, but in terms of wealth and status, that didn't happen until the 19th century, and so it's really kind of following from Commodore Vanderbilt, who's kind of like the predecessor to the huge money influence. He made a ton of money, and mostly working on steamships, and then transitions to railroads, and so how the money gets passed down, who marries who, they have some scandals and stuff, and just kind of learning a little bit more about their life, learning a little bit more about Manhattan and the Gilded Age. So it was a very interesting book. And I, again, like I've said before, I'm a nerd, so I enjoy stuff like this. But it's not a novel. It's not for everyone. And it's not like Devil in the White City, where it's kind of like half novel, half story. This one is like straight history book. But it's a short one. It's a very, very quick read, and so I really enjoyed it. So I think I give it a 3, maybe a 4. I wanted a little bit more information. I felt like the author kind of jumped time periods. I would rather just like give me one time period and tell me what's going on, like this 10-year span, and then give me the next one and tell me. I don't like when authors, especially historic authors, are like, this one, went from 1850 to 1910, and then we go back, and then you say, so in 1880, like, I need it straighter. I need stuff to happen more chronologically, and so that's why I really kind of struggled with this book. But outside of that, I thought it was a very fascinating read, and I've got some other actual novels on kind of based on the Vanderbilts, but I think I've said this before. If you like the Gilded Age period, the show Gilded Age is a pretty good show. It is by no means historically accurate. It's another historical fantasy. But it is, the family in the show is based on the Vanderbilts, and the concept, specifically, a lot of folks have said that it's based on Alva Vanderbilt, which I can totally see, because Alva Vanderbilt was from a family that was wealthy, but like her family had lost money, and so she was like desperate to find a husband, really, to save her family. And then, has children, forcing her children into all these marriages, and having the biggest house, and really just kind of demanding to be the Vanderbilt matriarch, kind of the leading Vanderbilt lady, but she's not, or her husband is not the oldest Vanderbilt male, so therefore she's not, and so in the show Gilded Age, you really see that with the various characters of just like, you have the old guard that's like, you can't just come in here and claim things. You just can't do that. That's not society. And the new guard's like, yeah, but we can, because we have money. So yeah, so it really definitely follows that. And so it was nice to kind of know the history a little bit more and understand that a little bit more, and give more appreciation to that period, at least in terms of what's going on in societal gossip, and kind of the development of this nepotism, as it were. So yeah, there you have it. As always, please continue to recommend books. I am getting close to heading back to school. I still have a couple weeks, depending on when this video drops. Will depend on if I'm back at school or not. It might drop after I'm back at school, but one of the big things is our school is starting a larger book club. So 4th grade had a book club last year, and it has not been accepted, and everybody's going to have a book club in every grade. So I'm very excited for that. And so if you are of the mind, and you would like to suggest some books, we have a couple grades that still need a couple books, in terms of like what they're going to read, and the information that they're going to engage with this year. So if you have a couple of those, send them my way. I've got some books that some of the kids in middle school are going to be reading that I've not read. So I've got to catch up on those and read those. But outside of that, please continue to recommend books, and I will see you in the next book review. Bye!